Okay, got my 99 Ford Explorer. I'm going to be changing out my rear brakes and my rear rotors. Let me show you what I got. Right now I have the front wheels chalked, and I'm getting ready to take off the little cap there so I can get access to my lug nuts and loosen those up before I jack it up. That's where I'm at. Okay, they're all nice and loose. Not super loose, but I got them loose enough where I can break them easy. Now I'm going to jack this thing up. Show you guys what I got going on here. Okay, well, here is the basically, to get this rotor off, I've got to take this caliper off, and this one I don't think shouldn't have to remove this bracket because it doesn't come over the front of it. So basically I pull the caliper off, which is one bolt here, one bolt here. I'll hang this out of the way and I'll pull this off and change them out. These actually don't look very bad. I just my front ones were really bad, and I bought an upgrade. I'm going to be putting back on slotted rotors, and just a little bit of an upgrade. So let me get busy. I'll show you guys. These look like 10mm. Let me see. Yep, that's 10mm. Alright, 10mm. Just loosen that up. Should be able to pull this out. That's one 10mm bolt. I'll show you guys the other one. It's down here. Good God, man, this one's... Okay. Alright. Got that 10mm bolt out. Now, once you got these two bolts out, you should be able to pull this caliper off relatively easily. Just pull it right out. And it's out. Pretty easy. Came out no problem. For now, I'm just going to set this right here. Pull the rotors right, since this one, on the front one, you actually have to pull these off, but you don't have to take the bracket off. Just pull this off. If you want to change out your parking brake shoes, it's a kind of a hassle. You have to pull out all the differential bolts, pull the cover off, go inside, pull the clip out, pull the axle out, because you can see this axle blocks getting access to all this stuff. So in order to change these inner parking brake shoes, it's a little more work. But I just had these changed like 2 weeks ago, so these are good. Everything, I had a new kit put in, new shoes, so should be good to go on these. But anyway, when you pull your rotor off, it's a good thing, good time to inspect all this stuff, which mine's fine. Here's my brand new rotors I'm going to be replacing. Let me show you these. I got my new rotor slipped on. Just to hold this on while I replace my pads, I'm just gonna use a lug nut to hold this on nice and tight, just like that for now. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to. I'll show you here. Hopefully you can see this. Right here are some shims. These are kind of crusty looking, but you can take these shims off. They just pop right off of there. These are kind of old and rusty. My brakes came with some new ones, so I'll go ahead and toss these on. These just fit on there like that. Get these brake pads off. Just use like a little screwdriver. Sometimes you can pry them off with your hand. This one's not cooperating too well, so let me get a screwdriver, and you just kind of hold that sucker in your hand. Just kind of pry it out. And you just kind of work it out. Alright, got that one out. Now, to get this one out, this other pad, you just kind of pry it. It should come out. I gotta go get a C-clamp. I have my caliper here, and I need to push this piston back inside the caliper. Right now I have the all my master cylinder. I took the cap off. That's working. Okay, got the caliper pushed in. Hopefully you guys can see that. As you can see, I have the caliper pushed in all the way. I just put a clamp here and lightly pushed it in. Now I can get these pads out. Here's my new pads. I'm gonna start on the you just got to push these suckers in. Okay, got that one in. Now, same thing here. You just gotta push these suckers in. A little screwdriver or something to help pry these on. These are kind of a pain. And until these should snap in. There we go. That one snapped in. That one snapped in. Should be good to go now. Check on these bushings and look, look at all the bushings and make sure there's no cracks in them or anything. And also, before slapping these on here, you want to lube up this contact point here. And it came with some grease, but I don't know what I did with it. Just put a little grease on there. Just kind of lube that up. A dab will do ya. You don't want to get it on your rotors. If you can help it, just get it on those contact points. A little here to help make it stick. And here's this one. That grease is kind of like glue. I just put a little bit on there to make it stick. Just put a little bit of grease on this is the sliding points for your caliper and stuff. It slides on here, so you want to grease that up a little bit. That's white lithium grease, high temp grease. But anyway, should be ready to slap this caliper back on. Something's wrong. I think I see what the problem is. It's these frickin'. It's this on these. What's holding me up on this is this clip here is what the problem is. I'm just going to break that off. Okay, got that part off of there. It was blocking my caliper from going on. Got my pads on and getting ready to slip them on. When you're slipping them on, you may want to pull the parts where the bolts go in. You want to pull the little rubber things so that you got to pull them back so that they will go over the bracket. In other words, the bracket here, there's a big chunk of metal like that, and those rubber things will push this way and you won't be able to push it over it, so you got to pull that little rubber thing back so it fits over the bracket. Hope that makes sense. I'm going to stick my bolts back in if I can find my bolts. I'm losing everything here. Both bolts are the same size, so okay, found the hole. Okay, I'm just going to snug these up. Okay, those are snug. Alright, that's pretty good, pretty snug. Alright, I'm just gonna wipe up any excess grease. I don't want it working its way down in my rotor. Okay, well, now I can take this lug nut off. And I should be able to put my wheel back on. And this side will be done. Okay, got the tire lowered. Need to torque my lug nuts. Got my torque wrench set to, it's 100 foot-pounds. So, torque these real quick. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this, but got my wheel off. I'm going to be changing out my brake pads and the rotor. There's actually nothing wrong with these rotors. They're fine. My front rotors were really bad, and I just bought this vehicle and I decided to upgrade my rotors to slotted rotors and upgrade my pads to like more expensive ceramic pads. So just a little bit better upgrade. But since I did my front ones, I'm gonna do my back ones too. But in order to get this off, you gotta take this bolt off and this bolt off. These are both 10mm bolts. So okay, this one's coming. Here's the kind of a long 10mm bolt. I got one out. Okay, there's a second bolt. Alright, this thing should pull right off. Normally I like to hang these calipers with a caliper hanger or a bungee cord or some wire or something like that, but I have this leaf spring right here. I'm going to be setting it right there, so you just pull this out. It should come off pretty easy. And it does. So I'm just gonna set this right here now, just right there on the leaf spring. That's a good place to let it hang out. Okay, now while our leaf spring's there, these rotors, you don't have to pop these brackets off, because on the front ones the bracket wraps around them, but this one you don't have to take the bracket off. You just grab it, give it a pull. This one's kind of sticking. And give it a little smack. That's all it took, was a couple smacks. Okay. Now, let me show you something here. This here, you're looking at, see all these, this is the emergency parking brake, these shoes here. Basically, the back brakes is a rotor for your caliper on the outside, but on the inside, this is the drum. This is a drum part here. Works just like a, shoes, brake shoes, and that's how your e-brake works. But as you can see, there's like no room in here at all to get to these springs and whatnot. So really, to change these pads out, you actually have to go inside the differential, take all the bolts off, pull the cover, drain the fluid, and go inside the differential, undo a clip on each side, and then pull this axle out just to change out these brakes. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but I actually had had mine done about 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and had it done at my school where I go to school. I'm an automotive technician student, so I had the school do mine. So they were gonna do this part too, but I ordered the wrong stuff, so now I'm changing them out myself in the driveway. No big deal. But as you can see, I got all new springs and all new brake pads, and now I'm just changing out the rest. I'll be putting on my new rotors. As you can see, my new rotors they had holes in them and they're slotted. They're an upgrade, and they actually tell you, this one says rear driver's side on rear driver's side. So I'm just going to slide this on. Okay. I'm just going to use a lug nut to hold this thing on while I'm putting my caliper on. Okay, now my new brake pad kit came with some new little shims here. You can just pop these off with something. Okay, so just get these off. Put that one off. It's kind of rusty. Normally I wouldn't replace these, but since I got new ones, might as well. I'm going to pop that one on. And I'm going to try to pop this one on. Okay. Alright. Got new, I think these are called some kind of shims. I'm not really sure, but this is where the brake pad slides on. So, let me show you the new pads I got. Okay, here's the new pad. This is the part that actually go like this. This side pushes, this 3 little tabs here pushes inside to the piston bore and sits like that. This other one has to like slide over, these little tabs here slide over, and it has these little pins here that they actually snap inside the caliper. So I'm going to take all these off and get these ready. And the way I get this one off, I'm just going to leave it up here on the leaf spring I don't care if I break these or not, but I'm just gonna try to bend this back pretty far, loosen that up. Just kind of push and lift to get those. Okay, got that one. All right, that's the old pad one. And actually, while this pad's still in here, I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to try to use this to use a C-clamp on it to push the piston back in. And I have the cap off the master cylinder right now, so just loosen it up to get behind it and just kind of push it in, and you can see the piston is going back inside the housing, which is what you want, and that should be good. I like to use the old pad just as something to push onto, but you just pull on the piston. Just pull on this pad and pull it out of the piston bore. Keep working it out, and that pad's out. Now, before I put this on here, I'm going to lube this up here, the slide point, contact points. I'm going to grease them up pretty good. Now this stuff isn't just regular grease, it's a high temperature grease. You don't want to use just regular grease on this, you want to use like some high temp stuff. But I got my grease here. Just going to grease this point lightly. A dab will do you. This is the slide points. Now just you don't want to get this on your rotor. You just want to get it on the slide points. Okay. Now I'm ready to pop the brake pads in. And one thing I noticed on the last one I did, I was fighting with that other one for way too long, so I'm just going to go ahead and break this off before I even go to put it on there. So I'm just going to grab that, pull it back, and until it breaks, like that. Normally I don't tell you to break stuff, but I fought with this thing for a long time trying to get it to work, and couldn't get it to work, so I'm just going to go ahead and break that off and be done with it. It's up to you if you guys want to break it off or not, but I broke mine off. Now I'm just going to stick this inside the piston bore. You got to kind of fight it in. Okay, that one's in. Right, got that one in. Same thing here. You got to like bend these tabs out and stick them over the, kind of a pain, but not the end of the world. You just got to fight them a little bit, and you just gotta like, what I do is I push back on this part and push down. Same thing on this side, I just push on that part and push down until it pops in place. It's in. Okay, this should be ready to go on now. I Got my points lubed up pretty good. So let me give it a shot, try to put this on. Also, you see these rubber things? You want to try to pull these out of the way, because you got to clear this bracket here. If you try to cram those on, you'll just hit that. So you want to pull them back as you're putting it on, if you can. See, like I'm hitting it now. Pull it back and it goes right on. These brackets, there we go. It popped in place. And you just put the bolts back in. There's that one. And this one. And you just take your 10 millimeter and tighten it down, snug it up. I don't know what the torque spec is on these, but it's not very much. You can torque them if you want to. You gotta look it up. Sometimes I torque them, sometimes I don't. I should torque them, but I don't always. Yeah, it's pretty snug. Okay, well, everything's on. I'm gonna remove my lug nut so I can get the tire off. Alright, that's pretty much it. Except for now, before you take off, you want to make sure you get inside your car and pump your brakes a few times, because right now the rotor is here and your pads are out here. So you go to hit the brake and you push the pedal down, well, they're only gonna, you want to pump them up so that your calipers or caliper pads are right over, just over, barely over the rotor, not like this. Because if you push down on if you get in the car and drive off, well, when you hit your brakes, they may not close down all the way. So anytime you do brake work, it's a good idea to pump your pedal before you go, just to make sure you got it seated. Hope that makes sense.